Manhattan. The name alone conjures dreams of grandeur, a shimmering island where ambition fuels towering glass skyscrapers that pierce the clouds like modern-day castles. But for others, the day begins with no doors to open, no soft beds to leave, no safety to cling to. Manhattan's land is among the priciest on Earth, $3,000 per square foot in 2024, with studio apartments demanding over $2,500 a month, according to real estate reports. For most, it's just a ride to work or home, but for those without either, it's a fragile shield against the cold. In 2024, Manhattan's shelter system houses over 60,000 people nightly, yet it's stretched beyond capacity, with 70% of shelters overcrowded per city data. Every day, the homeless walk past crowds who don't see them people glued to phones, rushing to meetings, or photographing skyscrapers. Social organizations and volunteers step into the void, offering more than just aid. They offer hope. The Coalition for the Homeless sends trucks through Manhattan streets each night, delivering warm soup, soap, and clean clothes to those who haven't eaten in days. A woman named Linda, once a teacher, sits on a park bench, her hands trembling. "I used to write dreams on a chalkboard for my students," she says softly. "Now I write my name on paper so I don't forget who I am." In another corner, a young man named Ray forces a bitter smile. "People pass me like I'm a shadow," he says. "But I'm not. I'm just someone who fell and can't get up." These stories don't make headlines, but they're the heartbeat of Manhattan streets. Every homeless person carries a tale of struggle, regret, and a faint, stubborn hope. Manhattan, with its dazzling dreams, holds a darker truth. Its glittering skyscrapers cast long shadows, hiding those who shiver with a volunteer's coffee in hand. This city is a mirror for America, reflecting how a nation treats its most vulnerable. As we walk these sidewalks, may we see them not as shadows, but as people who need just one hand to rise again. For someone starving, that bowl is more than food. It's a reminder they're still human. The Bowery Mission, a beacon since the 19th century, serves meals with no questions asked, just genuine smiles and a table always full. "It's the only place I feel like I matter," one man says, his voice cracking. Small acts of kindness ripple outward. A retiree named Samuel hands out his wife as homemade bread every Sunday, saying, "I can't fix their lives, but I can warm their mornings." Volunteers don't just bring food. They help replace lost IDs, guide people to job interviews, or connect them to mental health care. These efforts, often slow and painstaking, rekindle a spark of faith. Even in a city that seems to forget them, there are those who choose to care, proving humanity hasn't vanished entirely. To be invisible in a city of millions is a wound that festers quietly. The Housing First program promises a simple solution. Give people homes, then address jobs or health. Rent vouchers and support follow, but the process is mired in red tape, endless forms, interviews, and lost documents. In 2024, only 20% of eligible applicants received housing through the program, per city reports. Winter contingency plans open temporary shelters when temperatures drop, with social workers offering rides to warmth. But many refuse, scarred by past experiences in chaotic shelters. Mobile clinics provide checkups and medications, yet the need overwhelms the supply. Why, after years of programs, do the streets still teem with the homeless? The answer lies in Manhattan's core, a housing crisis where a studio costs more than most earn, an economy that leaves the vulnerable behind, and a bureaucracy that moves too slowly to save those slipping away. Every step forward feels like a drop in the ocean. Society's stigma cuts deeper, labeling them lazy, addicts, or criminals. But their stories tell a different truth. A former waiter who lost everything in the pandemic, a veteran haunted by war's ghosts, a single mother fleeing abuse. These aren't stereotypes. Their loves broken by circumstance. The psychological toll is brutal. Insomnia grips those who stay vigilant against theft or harassment. Depression and anxiety shadow every step, often untreated because mental health care is a luxury. Some turn to alcohol or drugs, not out of weakness, but desperation to quiet a chaotic mind. This cycle pushes them further from society, making escape feel impossible. In 2024, the National Low-Income Housing Coalition reported that no one earning minimum wage can afford a one-bedroom apartment in Manhattan. The system doesn't just fail them. It abandons them to a life where survival is a daily battle against erasure. Every evening, thousands line up, exhausted from scavenging food, to face a gauntlet of forms, personal questions, and long waits for a bed that might not come. For those who get in, the ordeal doesn't end. Shelters are often chaotic, packed with people battling addiction, trauma, or mental illness. Strict rules, curfews, bag searches, bans on outside food turn refuge into restriction. A woman named Teresa, her voice soft with defeat, recalls her time in a shelter. "I thought I'd finally sleep in peace," she says. "But I was scared my things would be stolen, and every morning we had to leave again." Shelters aren't homes. They're temporary, often dehumanizing stops. Long-term aid, like housing vouchers or the Housing First program, requires navigating a maze of interviews and lost documents impossible for someone without an address. Meanwhile, Manhattan's skyline glints with empty luxury condos owned by foreign investors, while thousands cram into shelters for a cot and a thin blanket. The irony is cruel. A city of wealth where the vulnerable are trapped in a bureaucratic nightmare, lost in a system that seems designed to keep them down. The rumble of trains, the chilly gusts from the tracks, the faint smell of metal and dust fill the air. In platform corners, people huddle, trying to sleep on the icy floor, knowing this isn't home, but at least it's not the street. It's never truly safe. A security guard might sweep through, forcing them back into the freezing night. Theft is a constant threat, meager belongings snatched by desperate hands. A man named Marcus, once a taxi driver, rides the E-train every night, his eyes scanning the doors. "Every time they open, I brace myself," he says, his voice heavy with dread. "Is it someone who'll hurt me?" Others perch on platform benches, pretending to wait for a train they'll never board, staying awake in shifts to guard their bags. The subway, a lifeline for millions, is a battlefield for them, a temporary haven fraught with danger, where survival hangs by a thread. For a full-time minimum wage worker earning $15 an hour, that's 3/4 of their income for a single room. The math is merciless. The 2023 HUD Annual Homeless Assessment Report notes that New York City's homeless population has surged by 30% since 2019, driven by a housing crisis that spares no one. Those who lose their jobs: a waiter, a retail clerk, a construction worker, often lack the savings to survive even a month without income. Once they fall, the climb back up is nearly impossible. Many who once lived in the Bronx or Brooklyn were pushed out by skyrocketing rents, hoping Manhattan's job market might save them. But when work didn't come, the streets became their last refuge. The pandemic accelerated this collapse, closing restaurants and shops, stripping thousands of day laborers of their livelihoods. Government aid exists, but layers of bureaucracy block access forms, interviews, delays that stretch weeks into months. Landlords don't wait. An eviction notice slams the door shut, and no new door opens. Mental health struggles deepen the crisis. In a city where a single therapy session can cost hundreds, those without support slip through the cracks, from a friend's couch to a park bench to a freezing sidewalk. Manhattan's housing crisis isn't just about rent. It's about inequality so stark it's almost dystopian. Penthouses sell for tens of millions, while below, someone shivers in a thin jacket on a cardboard bed. This is why the crisis festers, because the system doesn't just fail the fallen, it buries them. On the freezing sidewalks, men and women roll up threadbare blankets, their only shield against the night's biting chill. An elderly man, once a taxi driver, trembles as he lights a cigarette butt scavenged from the pavement, his hollow eyes staring at the dawn sky as smoke curls upward. Nearby, a young woman with matted hair cradles her sleeping toddler, her voice breaking as she tells a passerby how she lost her restaurant job when the pandemic shuttered her world. "It happened so fast," she says, shame weighing her words. One day I had a life, then nothing. By a subway entrance, a small group huddles, sharing stale bread from a soup kitchen. One man, his face weathered beyond his years, forces a laugh that sounds more like a grimace. "At least we've got each other," he mutters, but the words carry no joy. For them, the sidewalk is their living room, a cardboard box their mattress, and Manhattan's billion-dollar skyline a cruel, unreachable ceiling. Their days stretch into an endless cycle of scavenging for food, seeking a corner less cold than the last, and clinging to a hope that feels like a fading mirage. This is Manhattan's unseen portrait, a city where dreams soar for some and shatter for others. Its streets pulse with life executives in crisp suits sealing million-dollar deals, tourists snapping selfies against the backdrop of iconic landmarks, the air buzzing with the promise of success. But beneath the neon glow and relentless hustle, Manhattan hides a raw, festering wound that the world rarely sees. In 2024, the Coalition for the Homeless counted over 90,000 people without a home in New York City, with more than 4,000 sleeping on Manhattan's cold streets, a number that's doubled since the pandemic's shadow fell. Amid the aroma of artisanal coffee and the blare of taxi horns, a faint voice whispers from a sidewalk corner, under a pedestrian bridge, or outside a shuttered luxury boutique. "Spare change for a meal?" It pleads, barely audible over the city's roar. These are the voices of Manhattan's forgotten, people for whom this city of dreams has become a waking nightmare, a place where glitter masks deep, haunting scars. As the clocks strike 5 in the morning, Manhattan's wealthy slumber in high-rise apartments, cocoon in warmth and security. How does this happen in one of the world's richest cities? As night falls and Manhattan's temperatures plummet, the homeless seek refuge in an unlikely sanctuary, the subway. You'd think a city like New York, with its vast resources, would have shelters to house everyone. But the reality is bleaker. Homelessness in Manhattan is more than losing a roof. It's a slow erosion of identity, dignity, and hope. Yet, amidst this darkness, glimmers of humanity shine through. The New York City government hasn't ignored the crisis, but its efforts often falter. Amid Manhattan's roar, the traffic, the music, the chatter-quiet voices struggle to be heard.